Hello, welcome everyone. We are going to get started in just a moment. Our numbers always climb in the first 1 or 2 minutes as everyone starts clicking the link. So just give your fellow incoming students a chance to also click and join, and we'll get started shortly. And I know that some folks likely already have questions on their mind from even just the email you got this week or whatever that might be. And you're welcome just to hop on into the chat and ask any questions that are in your mind as we get started and throughout the entire time we're chatting. I can see our numbers are still climbing, so I'll just give it another moment. All right, and it's looking good for numbers of folks joining. Looks like everything's okay in the evening off. Oh, we still have some people joining. We'll just give it a second. All right, welcome to folks still joining. Welcome, welcome. I'm Andrea, the new student advisor. We'll get started in just a second. Okay, perfect. Let's get started. Hello and welcome to Start on Campus, the University Mindset. I'm Andrea, a part of the START team who are helping you prepare the summer for starting in fall 2021. Orientation week is only 4 weeks away, which is so exciting. I'm excited, and I know that you are likely nervous, excited, and all the things, just alongside all your fellow incoming students too. I want to begin with a land acknowledgement. The University of Guelph resides on the treaty lands and territory of the Mississaugas of the Credit. It is recognized that the Anishinaabe and Haudenosaunee peoples have long-standing and ongoing relationships with this land. This is a gathering place where we work and learn and is home to many past, present, and future First Nations, Inuit, and Métis people. It is important to recognize the lands of Indigenous peoples locally, across Turtle Island, and around the world. We acknowledge the land because we have a collective responsibility to this place and its people's histories, rights, and presence. We are so excited to welcome you to Start on Campus today because we are so excited to welcome you to the Griffin community. You are welcome to ask any questions on your mind in the Q&A chat live. And if you have any questions this summer and you don't know where to ask, or even as the session finishes today and you forgot to ask a question or you think of something else, you can always email us at start@uguelph.ca. We're happy to answer any questions or just make sure that you're connected with the right person. So at the University of Guelph, we know that being prepared and acting proactively is a huge part of your success as a student. There is also so much more behind being successful. Many students think of it as achieving everything or getting everything right the first time they try, but really what we see is that students who act proactively with their goals, responding well to challenges, and seeking out resources and supports, those are the students that come out strong in the university. So I have Becca from Wellness and Victoria from the library joining us today to chat about the university mindset. We also have upper year students joining us to share their thoughts too. To get us started, I see this overall as a 1, 2, 3. 1 being your goals, 2 responding to challenges, and 3 knowing and engaging and using your resources and supports. So for step 1, setting your goals and using the summer for skills, I want to start with a moment or a visualization of what you want to achieve in your first year of university. And by this, I mean setting SMART goals for first semester. But to get us started, just for whatever's off the top of your mind, think about 2 goals that you have for this semester. Just 2 goals, and you can just write them down, you can note them on your phone or open up a Word document. but I just want you to take a second and write down 2 goals that you want to achieve in your first year of university. So let's give you a moment to write down 2 things. Okay, so I hope you wrote down at least 1, possibly 2, maybe even 3, who knows, but 2 goals that you have first semester or your first year. Is one of them grades-based? Most students think of grades first, but I want to bring it back to the bigger picture. University is a big endeavor. Academics are important, but so are so many other things. And I'm sure if you've been joining us for Start on Campus, you gather that we think that wellness as a student, getting involved as a student, and what you do outside of the classroom is just as important as what you do inside the classroom. That's a big part of coming to the University of Guelph and being a Griffin. So I want you to think, if you wrote down something grade-based, I want you to also think of something beyond just grades. So what do you want to accomplish during your time at U of G? Is there a volunteer opportunity you want to make sure you do? Is there a job that you want to get? Is there a club you want to join? Do you want to be a peer helper, which is an awesome program? And if you're curious about what I'm talking about with that, you can ask in the chat. Is there a club? Just start thinking about what you want to do. What would make you feel like you achieve something beyond grades? So for example, perhaps you want to make sure that you make a new friend, or connect with a professor, or put yourself out there. It will give you something to look forward to. Maybe it's a place that you want to visit, but having goals both inside the classroom and outside the classroom are really important. And so by the end of us being live with you today, I want you to think about 2 new goals that you have, or 2 goals that you think about that you want to achieve in your first year. When I think back to my first year as a student, I was incredibly shy and nervous for first year university. I mean, if you chat with me now, I don't think you would know, because I'm quite outgoing now, but I was really incredibly shy when I entered university. And a big goal for me was to put myself out there and try at least 2 new things that were beyond my comfort zone in first semester. And that could be about school, or it could be about getting involved on campus. It didn't matter. I just wanted to make sure that I would put myself out there and challenge myself in that way. And then another goal that I had was to make sure to take the time to introduce myself and talk to all my professors, because it can get really easy just to sink back in the back of a class and just be quiet, for me at least. So I put myself out there in those 2 ways for my first year, and I accomplished those goals. And for me, that also did mean number 2 and number 3, which was responding to challenges and resources and supports. So I want you to continue to come back to whatever you wrote down originally, or maybe add on extra goals, and think tangibly about how you can achieve those in your first year. And to think about that now, and not wait until you start university. So make sure that you note that down. You can come back to it at the end. But for right now, I'm going to pass it off to Becca to talk about balance as a student.
Hi folks, so my name is Rebecca Skellhorn, and I am a wellness educator in the Wellness Education Promotion Center, Student Wellness Services here at the University of Guelph. And I use she, her pronouns. And so as Andrea has kicked us off, we're going to be talking a little bit about finding that balance between all of these new things that you are trying to explore and the new person that you want to be, or maybe just like enhancing the person that you have always been. And it can be really overwhelming, but also exciting and fun while you are trying to find the balance between school, work, life, relationships, etc. while you're a university student. So with all these new opportunities on the horizon, you might feel like it's going to be hard to find the balance while you're developing these new routines and seeking these new experiences, maybe trying to make up for lost time, whatever that might be. So let's start with thinking about, what does balance actually look like? So balance means that we can fully engage in the things that we need to do and the things that we want to do without having that like nagging worry or guilt that we're supposed to be doing something else. You know, when you're sitting down and watching your Netflix show and you're like, ooh, but like I should clean my room, you know? So it's having the balance and not having that nagging worry that like you're missing out on doing something else. It means really understanding our own boundaries and needs so that we have the freedom to pursue all of the various roles and identities that we want or that we have in our lives. It means finding balance leads to greater life satisfaction and well-being, which improves our ability to find balance in the future, which is great. And it's really important to remember that balance is individual. It's going to look different from person to person. What I need in my life versus what Andrea needs in her life are going to be different. And they're also going to change over the course of time. You know, within a week, you might have balance in different ways, right? Some people need a lot of time to relax, while others like to be a lot busier. Some people like being more connected with other people. Some people like having more time on their own, right? It's going to be different. So that's really important to remember, that what you need versus what somebody else needs might not be the same thing. Of course, there are times when balance is more complicated. Realistically, balance isn't something that someone's going to just like figure out and achieve in a single day. It's something that you need to work at over time. So you might need to spend more time studying during exam time, or you might need to spend more time at work for a short period of time, or maybe you have a lot of family commitments all at once, and so family is where you're putting a lot of your priorities and time for a period, right? So unexpected obligations come up, but it's still important to take time for yourself and don't feel like you need to fit everything in at one time in one day, because that can be really hard. As long as you have a plan that gives you time for the other important pieces within a reasonable amount of time, you can always make everything work, right? So if you're finding that you're constantly putting off important pieces, you may need to kind of reevaluate the balance that you have in your life. You may also want to reevaluate those things that you feel are priorities for yourself that you might be putting off, right? So it's always give and take, it's always changing, it's always shifting. Maybe you've experienced that during your time in high school. Maybe you're anticipating what it's going to look like already in university, right? So wherever you're at, that's okay. But something that's really helpful for me to think about is, you know, how do I know if I've found those balance things, right? So we have talked about finding the time to do what you want and what you need. So it's really useful to just ask yourself two simple questions. First question is, when I've taken care of everything that I have to do I have the time and energy to enjoy the things I want to do? So after I've done all my schoolwork and studied for however many hours, can I go have dinner with my friends? And do I have energy and enthusiasm to go have dinner with my friends? Or am I so tired I need a nap, right? The second question is, can I get absorbed in something without worrying about another task or feeling guilty because I'm not doing something else? So can I sit down and play video games? Like last night I was playing The Sims. Can I just sit down and play The Sims for 4 hours straight without worrying about anything else and getting fully absorbed in that task and forgetting about the rest of the world and not checking my phone, all those things? Do I have the time to do those things? If you can say yes to both of those questions, that you have the energy and time to do the things you want when you've done the things you have, and you can get absorbed in a task without worrying about doing something else, you're probably on the right track with your balance, at least in that given moment at that given time, right? If your answer is no, then that's okay too. We're going to go over some steps that might help you find some balance right now, or that might be helpful for you during the school year. So during the school year, especially in September, especially during orientation week, you're going to want to jump in and dive into all those awesome things that Andrea was talking about, right? So like she was saying, be open to new experiences, Try new things. There's going to be so many amazing opportunities that are going to spark some passions for you. And so maybe that is attending an orientation week event for a group that seems interesting, or maybe it's just keeping your door open if you're living in residence and waiting for opportunities to kind of literally walk past you. Or maybe it's just chatting with your resident advisor, resident assistant in the hallway, or connecting with your Griffin's Nest community online, and just seeing where that conversation takes you. What are you able to say yes to that can be new and exciting and add some new things to your life? Within that, though, in terms of maintaining balance, know that it's okay to not say yes to everything. You know where your own boundaries are, and just like balance, boundaries are individual. You know how much time you have available. You know how much energy you have to spare. You know if something is going to be too far out of your comfort zone, that it's not a comfy challenge. It is like, okay, yeah, I'm really not going to want to do that, right? No is a full sentence. And you're very much allowed to say no and to stick to that answer, okay? So keep that in mind. Be open to new things, but also respect your own personal boundaries and your own time. Devote time that fits within your routine and within your needs to give you that rest and relaxation. So maybe that for you is an entire weekend. Maybe it's one day during the week. Maybe it is just an hour before sleep every day. Again, it's going to be individual, it's going to be different. So whatever works for you, find that time and dedicate it to your time to just chill, right? It's really helpful to also define your work and study space. So if you are living in residence this year, studying in your room may not be the best fit. Maybe you like it, I don't know, but maybe you study at your desk and not at your bed, which is a foot away from it. Or if you're living at home or living off campus, maybe you like to study in your living room or your dining table instead of in your bedroom, so that you have that space to chill and relax, but also that area that is dedicated to learning, right? Or maybe you try out some different student spots on campus, like at the library or the university center, different places like that, again, so that you can have that distinction between relaxation and study zones. It makes it a little bit easier to, again, have that balance. I know this past year, working from home, it's been really hard for me sometimes to turn off my work mind at the end of the day when my couch is literally like 3 feet away from me that way, and I can see my TV. I'm like, but the Netflix is just, it's so close, right? So it's really nice to have those distinctions in your physical space so that it helps your brain function the way that you're hoping it will. Also, make sure that you're taking time to add in your time for your physical and mental health in ways that's going to work for you. So that could be going for walks in the Arboretum, prioritizing getting enough sleep, joining an intramural team, eating a little bit better than just having Creelman Hall pizza every day, which is an amazing dining hall. If you are not yet familiar, you will be. And keep up with your hobbies. If there's things that you enjoy doing right now in your free time, there's no reason why you need to stop doing that when you come to university. So, take the time to do the things that you like to do. And finally, we have so many resources. We're going to talk about more at the end, but we really care about your transition. We care about helping you find that balance. So definitely don't hesitate to reach out before you need help or when you need help, so that we can make sure that you're supported in the ways that you need. So that's my spiel about balance. I am going to shift gear into talking about strengths, but I just wanted to see if there's anything in the chat that came in. I wasn't really paying attention that I can answer right now.
Some really great questions, but they're being answered.
Amazing.
Amazing.
Perfect. Thanks so much, Andrea. Great. Then I keep them coming. Keep asking in the Q&A any questions that you have for our team to respond to. But I am now going to talk a little bit about motivation, habits, and applying your strengths to those things. So when you come to university and talking about balance, you might be like, okay, I know that I do not have a balanced life. How am I going to get to a balanced life? That is going to take some level of maybe adapting my habits, creating new healthy habits, whatever that might look like for you, right? And there's no reason why you can't start right now if you want to. You can also wait until September, either way, whatever works for you, right? So building a balanced routine that includes healthy habits will help you gain healthier relationships, social confidence, higher self-esteem, and overall better well-being. Establishing healthy habits early on can help you to avoid slipping into some unsustainable patterns, like maybe staying in the library until it closes at like 2 or 3 in the morning, pulling all-nighters, eating cream and pizza every single day. Can you tell that I'm speaking from experience? Missing meals completely, whatever it might be, right? So we want to try to avoid those maybe more negative patterns by, just going in with some healthy stuff right from the get-go. So again, it's all individual. Every person's going to need different things, feel like they need different things to create that balance. But here are some suggestions to maybe jog some thoughts for you about healthy habits that you could work on including. So maybe you want to organize your to-do list and your schedule for the next day before you go to bed so that you don't have to stress about what you need to do during the day, throughout the day. Maybe you want to pick food options that make you feel good inside and out. Maybe you want to incorporate physical activity in a way that fits for you, like walking to the campus instead of busing, joining the fitness center, joining us in student wellness on a walk through the Arboretum, which we do every Friday. Maybe you want to schedule weekly dinners with your roommates or regular phone calls to your family back home. Maybe you want to plan to be in bed every night at a certain time, and you're going to put away your electronics 30 minutes before that time comes around, right? So again, there's lots of different options. Being healthy can look different in a lot of different ways, so it's going to be whatever works for you. But I know that it is really hard to start a new habit or a new routine, right? I'm sure we've all tried. I'm sure we've all heard that it takes, 21 days or something like that for a habit to stick. And like 21 days is a long time. Like Andrea was saying at the beginning, like a week is 4 weeks away. That is just 7 more days than 21. And so it's like a long time, but also it's going to be here like that. And the important thing is that a lot of the time we rely upon our own willpower to accomplish those things. I think if we are just dedicated enough, strong enough, strong-willed enough, I can accomplish any of these habits. To an extent, yes, but you can't rely on willpower for everything, right? Think about how you feel after a long day of making decisions, deciding, what am I going to wear? What am I going to eat? Where am I going to go? Where am I going to sit? We think of all these things, make all these decisions all the time. When I get home, I might not want to, make that healthy meal. Maybe I do want to just order something on Uber Eats because it's easier, right? So we don't want to rely on our willpower alone, but that's okay because I have a trick for you. So it's called the 20-second rule. And basically, we want to take small steps to remove the barriers that are in the way of us sticking to our habits or make it easier to do the things that we actually want to do. So working out, doing our course readings, remembering to floss, whatever it is, right? We can do either way. So basically, what this looks like in practice is we want to either remove a 20-second obstacle from doing the thing you want to start doing, or add 20 seconds between you and the habit that you're wanting to stop doing. So for example, if I want to start my day every day with a workout, maybe that's walk, maybe it's a yoga, maybe it's doing cardio in my room, whatever, I can lay out my clothes beside my bed in the night before so that in the morning, 20 seconds faster, my stuff is already there waiting for me to go, right? On the flip side, if I wanted to, say, cut back on my caffeine intake, maybe I put the caffeinated coffee that I have at the back of my cupboard and the decaf coffee goes on the counter so that it's much easier for me to reach for that decaf that's right beside the coffee machine instead of having to like reach up, get on my stool because I'm really short, dig to the back for my caffeine. I'm really only going to go for it when I really, really want to. So it makes it a lot easier for me to stick to those habits or, not want to engage in those maybe negative habits that I'm looking to put a pause on for myself. So I want you to take a second to think about a habit that you're wanting to work on. Maybe it is one of those goals that Andrea had you think about earlier today, or maybe it's a new habit that you've thought of as I've been talking that you want to work on right now or for when you come to university. You can feel free to write it down again, grab a piece of paper on your phone, on a Word document, whatever. And write down that habit as well as one way that you could add or remove 20 seconds to make it that much easier for you to work towards that goal. So I'll give you a second to think about that and write that down. And sometimes it's hard to think of things on the spot, so you can also just put a little asterisk beside it and say, think about this later. You know, whatever floats your boat, whatever comes to mind for you. Okay. Something else that can help you when you are working towards forming healthy habits or reaching your goals is discovering and applying your strengths. So everybody has some unique character strengths, which are positive personality traits that impact how you think, how you feel, how you behave. And by drawing on our strengths and focusing on those things that you're already super good at can help boost your overall well-being. So I want you again to take a moment. You can close your eyes or just lower your eyes a little bit, whatever you feel comfortable with. And think about a time when you were doing something that you knew that you were good at, okay? Maybe it was something creative, like you were painting a beautiful portrait. Maybe it was something like a skill that you've been developing for a really long time, like doing a really cool like trick shot in soccer. Maybe it was just playing a video game and defeating, you know, the big bad boss that you've been working up to. It can be literally anything. So think about a time when you were doing something that you knew that you were good at. And I want you to think about how good it felt to know that you were strong at that activity, that you knew that you were going to succeed, and the pride that you felt when you accomplished it. Did you run around and show your friends the video of that trick shot? Or maybe you said, you know, posted a picture of it on Instagram or whatever it was, right? The way that you felt in that moment of doing that thing that you knew you were good at, that is the way I know I would love to feel about trying something brand new that's a little challenging for me, working towards a goal, establishing those new habits we just talked about, right? So that is why we're talking about your strengths in this context. Knowing that what your strengths are means that you can more consciously apply them to your everyday life. You can also draw on those characteristics to help you respond to challenges rather than avoiding them completely. In the Wellness Center, we like to figure out our strengths by using something called the VIA Character Personality Assessment. We're going to post the link to the website in the chat if one of my lovely folks could take the highlighted bit there and post that in the announcements. So feel free to copy that link or just write down the title of it or whatever so that you can access it later. The test itself does take about 10 to 15 minutes to complete, so we're not going to do it together right now by any means, but I just wanted you to have that link available to you so you can take a chance to do it later on if you feel like it. So that quiz is going to give you kind of a profile of 24 of their strengths that pretty much covers all aspects of, you know, a person's being, which is pretty cool. And it'll show you the ones that you are the strongest in, and maybe some that are like not as much of a priority for you, or that, you know, could use some work, but they're definitely not weaknesses by any means. So feel free to take a look at that and, you know, see what your strengths are. That being said, you can probably identify some of your strengths without a quiz needing to tell you what they are. Maybe you're good at communicating your ideas, or you love to be creative. Maybe you're a very honest and fair person. Maybe you're a really great team player, whatever it might be. Take a moment right now and think about one or two of those aspects about yourself that you know are your strengths. Feel free to write them down where we've already been writing things down, and just say, my strength is that I am a people person, or that I am really good at navigating new cities. Whatever it is, write those things down so that you have them kind of as a reference point. And then what I'd like you to do is later on, when you're thinking about those goals and habits that we've been talking about today, try framing them in a way that is going to match up those things that you've already thought about that you know that you're good at, or that the quiz will tell you that you're good at if you're having trouble thinking of those things. Maybe you're super organized, and so as part of the goal that you're going to set to work out in the mornings, you're going to plan out the exercises that you're going to do for the whole week. What's every day going to look like for you? You can organize yourself in that way, play to your strengths so that you can accomplish your goal. Maybe you're creative, so you decide to write a song that is going to be set as your phone alarm, and that's going to go off at 6 o'clock at night to remind you to floss your teeth at a certain time, right? Whatever it is, you know you're good at the thing, use the thing to help you do the thing, okay? Help you accomplish your goals with the things you're already good at. If you're great at connecting with friends, maybe you ask them to help you stay accountable and you check in with them a few times every week, right? Whatever's gonna work for you. So again, to recap it all, when we start from a place of strength in addressing what you're not as strong at, what you want to work at, it can help you feel a lot more positive about your goals, more accomplished, more motivated to complete them. So keep those things in mind. Give those goals and habits a thought later on today. And I really hope that you have the best time ever in reaching those goals over the next month or once you're at the University of Guelph. Thanks, folks.
Thank you so much, Becca. I really appreciate all that you have to share around everything from strengths to balance, everything in between. I think it's fantastic. And I know that Victoria is going to build off of these thoughts and head into chatting about failure and growth. Victoria, handing it off to you.
Wonderful, thank you. Hi, everyone. I'm Victoria. I also use she and her pronouns. So before I get started talking a little bit about the kind of growth and failure and mistakes and everything wonderful, I do want to point out there's been some questions about learning in university, and we totally get that this is a new transition for you. Often it's a different type of learning. You have more courses at the same time. So the library website is an excellent place to start. I've popped that into the Q&A tab for you. And also there's going to be a session next week called the University Classroom. So I would definitely encourage you to attend that as well. Lots more information there. So I do want to start off with the idea here that mental wellness is really integral to academic success. So in order for us to be successful academically, we should also be mentally and emotionally and physically and spiritually well. So we are going to talk about some strategies for mental wellness that can help you in your academics. First, again, I want to acknowledge that failure and setbacks are a normal part of life. Sometimes for many of us, the first time we're going to really experience those academic setbacks is in university, and that's totally okay. We're going to talk about some strategies now that will help you manage your experiences with those setbacks, mistakes, failures, whatever we want to call them. How you react to setbacks makes a really big difference in how you move forward. So let's get started. As a reminder, all of the concepts that we're going to talk about today can help you build mental well-being for now and in the future. And they're going to help you deal with setbacks as well. The more you practice them now, when you're feeling excited and anticipating coming to school, the easier they're going to be to apply in the future when you need them. The first strategy that we can use is gratitude. So you might have heard this word before, but basically gratitude is about focusing on the positive to see the good that is around us. So we as human beings really tend to notice the negative things, and that's okay. Our brains were wired that way for survival. But through practice and ongoing gratitude practice, we can actually, my favorite saying, help cultivate an attitude of gratitude. This regular practice can actually help us focus on the positive more regularly, even if we're not necessarily aware of it. By practicing gratitude regularly, we can even help benefit ourselves during times of stress. So really quickly right now, we're going to do a gratitude practice. So this is for you individually, and what I want you to do is think of one thing right now that you are grateful for. And I will share my thing with us. I am very grateful for my cats, who sometimes make appearances, but today they're both sleeping on the bed upstairs. So today I'm grateful for my cats. Another strategy that we can use to help us build our tolerance to mistakes and errors is called self-compassion. This is about treating ourselves with kindness and warmth and reminding ourselves that we're human and all humans make mistakes. It's part of life, it's part of learning. I think we can all say that we're very much harder on ourselves when we make a mistake than we would be on a friend. So when we're in that feeling, in the place of feeling low, we've just made a mistake, perhaps we got a grade that we're not so happy with, it can be really helpful to ask ourselves this simple prompt, and you can write it down if you'd like to remind yourself later, how would I treat my best friend? Is this how I would talk to my best friend who's going through a similar situation? What would I say to them? And then you can take those words and talk to yourself in the same way. Another helpful strategy is grit. And again, you might have heard of some of these terms. If so, that's awesome. If not, that's totally okay too. So grit is passion and perseverance for a goal. We all have grit. Sometimes we have more grit than other times. In certain areas of our lives, we might have more grit than in other areas. Totally okay. So I want you now to reflect on some of the times that you wanted to quit, but you didn't. So just for yourself right now, imagine a time where you wanted to quit, but you chose to persevere through it. What strategies did you use to keep yourself going? And how can you use those same strategies when inevitably, because again, mistakes happen to all of us, difficulties happen to all of us, setbacks happen to all of us, how can you use those strategies that you already know work in your future? So you might want to write those down as well. And it's okay if you don't have enough time, you can always watch the recording of this session and then pause it and take some time to reflect. Something else related to grit is that passion piece. So thinking of the big picture and our motivation and reasoning behind doing something can also be really helpful for us. You might ask yourself during times of difficulty or stress, why did I choose this degree? What am I hoping to get out of it? What do I want to do when I'm finished? And how does this degree help get me there? And I can say from personal experience as a PhD student myself, I absolutely need to ask myself these questions sometimes. When I have a lot of writing to do, there's all of this work that I really don't want to do, I'm feeling really unmotivated, I have to ask myself, well, why did you want to do this in the first place? What are you hoping to get out of it? And that reminds me about how passionate I am about the work that I'm doing. A related concept that you might have heard of is called growth versus fixed mindset. So if we can think of our mindsets on a spectrum here, on one side, we have a fixed mindset where we see talent and intelligence as things that we're born with and we can't change. You're either good at sports or you're not. On the other side is the growth mindset, where we can see ourselves as people that can get better, that we can get smarter, that we can practice and do good things, and we can change over time. So I want you to just check in with yourself right now. Where do you see yourself on that spectrum? Do you have more of those thoughts of like, I'm good at math, or I'm not good at English, or I'm good at sports, or I'm not good at sports? Or are you on the other side of the spectrum where you're like, hey, you know, I might not be good right now, but that doesn't mean that I'm not going to be good forever. Another question to ask yourself is that something you want to change? Are you happy with where you are in terms of your mindset on that spectrum? Or is that something that you think you want to change? If you do want to change, something that's really helpful is to focus on the process and not the product. So instead of looking at that end goal, reminding yourself of all of the hard work that you've put into getting there. So I actually want to encourage you right now. We'll spend just a moment doing this for yourself. Think of something that you are really, really proud of, something that you've accomplished. So see if you can bring that to your mind. And once you have that thing that you've accomplished, now start to unpack how much work went into it, how much time you spent on it, if you got support from other people, who helped you get there, what did you have to do to reach that goal. So a really great example of thinking about the process and kind of unpacking it is if we think of our degree as that end product. I know for all of us that's a few years away, but I'll share from my experience. Often we think of the degree like, yes, we're done the degree, and it's this thing I'm looking forward to being finished. But when we start to unpack everything that went into it, we remember all of the classes we took, all of the hours studying, all of the time reading, all of the notes that we took, all of the friends that we made, all of the things that didn't work out for us, the times perhaps we cried, the times perhaps we laughed. So many things went into this really kind of small product at the end. So again, process can be really helpful for us to cultivate that growth mindset. University can be a really big transition for students. There's going to be times of peak stress that most students will experience and go through, especially around things like new assignments, new types of assignments, and midterms, especially if this is the first time that you've ever written things like midterms or exams. But by practicing the concepts that we just talked about, you can actually help yourself better manage the stress when it does arise. And by better managing our stress, we can lead to more academic success. I also want to make a point here. I just talked about stress and times of stress and peak times of stress. Stress is completely normal. Stress is good for us as humans. It alerts us to a new situation that we have to pay attention to and be aware of. It is okay to feel unsure of new things. And a lot of the questions, I have the chat muted right now, but a lot of the questions were coming up around like, I don't know how to study for university. It's different. How do I do 10 readings for a course? That's okay to not know the answers. These things are new. You've never done them before. I do want to make a point though, that when stress starts to affect your daily life, so it starts to affect your sleeping, your eating, you're being social, so you're not seeing other people, then it might be time to reach out for support. There's absolutely nothing wrong with reaching out for support. And in fact, I love to tell students that it is the entire reason that I have a job, is to help support you through these kind of time management type things. So the last idea that I want to end on to kind of bring everything back together is that making mistakes and having those difficult experiences are really key to a solid learning of something. University is going to be a new learning experience for you. You will make some mistakes, it's inevitable because you're human, but you will also have some really, really great successes too. So don't forget to pay attention to those things that go well for you. Something that I think might be really helpful and interesting for you is I would absolutely love to hear from our upper year students. So Charlotte and Alexa, we would love if you could share some experiences of mistakes or learning that you'd have with the group.
All right, hello everybody. My name is Charlotte. I use she, her pronouns, and I am an upper year student currently working with the orientation team this summer. So for myself, the first thing that came to mind was first semester of university. I was taking, all of my required courses and really enjoying them. However, I had my first midterm for Bio 1090 and it just didn't go how I wanted. My grade was a lot lower than I had hoped, and it was disappointing because I was doing really well in all my other courses. So I figured, this is really unfortunate. I thought I did really well, and I was just very frustrated. But instead of getting down on myself and doing poorly for the rest of the course, I reached out to the library and found out about SLGs. So these are supported learning groups, which we have for several of our courses at Guelph. And it's basically a collection of students who have done well in the course and current students who need help. And you get together and you do study sessions and you work really hard to improve your knowledge of course materials. After attending these sessions, I did much better in the class and I was really happy with my progress. So I could have gotten really down on myself and said, man, I'm a failure. I suck at this. Maybe I shouldn't do this degree program. But instead of doing that, I recognized that I love science and I love biology and that I could do better and that there are tons of resources at Guelph that are meant to help you do better. So it's totally okay to have setbacks. It's really normal to have setbacks. And if you can prepare yourself for these setbacks before they even happen, you'll be getting through them so easy. You won't even realize it. So I will pass it off now to my friend Alexa.
Hi everyone, my name's Alexa. I use she, her pronouns, and I'm going to my 4th year at the University of Guelph. Just like Charlotte, I'm also on the orientation team. And one mistake I made in first year, or something I didn't realize, was how unproductive I was when I studied in my room. So in my first semester, I spent most of my time studying in my dorm, and I noticed a huge difference in my productivity once I started studying outside of my dorm. So even though I was spending the same amount of time studying in my room or studying in the library, I was getting so much more done and my studying was so much more effective when I studied in the library or in other places on campus. And I'm going to send it back to Andrea.
Awesome. Thank you so much, both Charlotte and Alexa, and also Victoria too. I want to jump into thinking about step 3, which was knowing where your supports and resources are. We'll share some. And also thinking about reaching out to them proactively. So Victoria spoke a little bit about growth mindset on facing challenges, and challenges will happen. It is normal and expected. I have pretty much challenged all the incoming students for every single year that I have done a supportive role like I do at the University of Guelph. And I've shared to everyone that if you don't experience a challenge of some form at your time during the University of Guelph, come talk to me so that I can remove it from my presentation, because I can guarantee that you're going to face something. It will be different for every single person because you're all incredibly unique individuals, and what challenges you might not challenge someone else, or you might face multiple challenges and someone will have one big one. No matter what, challenges are going to happen. Some challenges and setbacks you may be able to predict based on knowing yourself. And others might be a really big surprise. And that's just completely okay. It's not about what setbacks or challenges you experience. It's really about how you respond to them. So I'm really appreciative that Becca and Victoria had a chance to share with us some thoughts around that. But one follow-up thing around facing challenges is when responding to them, to know who your supports are. And what I mean by supports is when something goes sideways for you or doesn't go well for you during university, who can you call on to support you? Whether that be to talk to you, ask advice, or ask for help in figuring out next steps. So the first part of that is who in your personal life can you count on for support? For me, that's my sister. I can always chat out things with her. She's always been really supportive that way and just has a really good listening ear. I mean, when we were much younger, I don't think either of us were great listeners, but over time we started communicating with each other about like what was really helpful when we just needed to vent on something or share that something was really not going well for us, or ask for advice because maybe one of us has gone through that. So that's who comes to mind for me. And so I encourage you just to write down who has been a really good support for you, or who you know is going to be a positive support in your personal life going into university. And that might be multiple people, it might be one person, it might be someone who holds maybe more of a traditional role in your life. So for example, my mom. Or it could be someone who has just been a really positive personal support for a while, and you know you can count on in university. So for example, for me, my sister or one of my close friends. And then the follow-up is also not just your personal supports, but also thinking about who do you have at the University of Guelph that can support you. And you may not know exactly who those people are yet, just because you're starting to learn a little bit more about the University of Guelph. Maybe you spent some time on STARTonline.ca and checking out some of the resources, and you can kind of figure out, oh, this would be a really good support resource for me, or here's 3 that would be really positive for me at the University of Guelph. Or maybe you haven't had a moment to do that yet. So examples, both the library and wellness services were on the Teams Live with us today. Perhaps one of the things they have or will mention that you can support you will be positive for you. If you're an international student, maybe that's the international office. If you're a student with a disability, maybe you already know that student accessibility services in wellness will be a really positive connection. Or maybe you know that English in high school wasn't your strength, so you know that you should connect with the library's writing services proactively. Think about the challenges that you might face, and also get acquainted with the ones you might have. That's why I encourage you to go on STARTonline.ca and get familiar with what the University of Guelph has before you need it. So thinking about at least one person in your personal life that you believe will be a good support for you and why, and chatting with them before you start university. And also thinking about some resources that will be helpful for you at the University of Guelph, and you can do that through just checking out STARTonline.ca. I'm going to let Victoria and Becca chat a little bit more about the resources that they also offer, but I do want to share that next week when we talk about the University Classroom, we're also going to be talking about the library resources more in depth then too. All right, I'm just going to toss it over to Victoria for a moment. There we go.
Wonderful. Thank you, Andrea. So again, as Andrea mentioned, we will talk a little bit more in depth with my amazing colleague Joanna next week about the University Classroom and some of the library resources. Something I will add though is that honestly, every time I've looked at the library website, I found something new. So I know we associate libraries with books, but of course we have books in our library, but there's also some other amazing things as well. So do check out the library website. It is posted to STARTonline.ca/academics. You can find the website there. Very honestly, I also lazily Google U of G library. Even though I've worked there for many years, that's still how I get to it. And you can check out that website. There's also like a click to chat option. If you do have questions, folks can answer them there. But the last thing that I do want to share is just that U of G really is here to support you. We are so excited for you to be joining us, hopefully on campus in person. And that if you can embrace your mistakes, and I will wholeheartedly say I am a PhD student, which means I've been in school for a lot of years. I still make mistakes all of the time. So it's part of learning, it's part of the process, and you can kind of embrace that learning and that change. You will be more than set on your journey to university. So thank you, everyone. I'm so excited you're here with us, and I'm going to pass it over to Rebecca.
Awesome, thanks so much. So as I mentioned, I work in student wellness services, and we take care of all aspects of your wellness here at the University of Guelph. So come on and visit us when you're on campus, or check us out online. All of our resources can be found on STARTonline.ca/wellness, so you can check it out there as a starting point. But we have your health clinic, which has your doctors and nurses. We have counseling services to take care of your brain. We have student accessibility services. So if you have any accommodations that you need for your learning, maybe you had an IEP in high school or whatever it might be, you can chat with an advisor there to find some accommodations that are going to work specifically for you. We have the Health and Performance Center that takes care of kind of your aches and pains with massage therapy and chiropractic and stuff like that. And then wellness education, which can help answer any other questions that you might have about your own well-being. So definitely check us out on STARTonline.ca/wellness. And come visit us on campus if you're there. We're going to be offering a lot of our services both in person and online, so a hybrid type of a model, because we know a lot of you folks are still going to be online learning and things like that, so they will still be able to access us. And two programs that I want to highlight for you if you're really keen on continuing some of the things that we've talked about today in terms of building your healthy habits, improving your well-being overall. We have a program called Shine, which is a 7-session workshop series that digs into those aspects that Victoria was talking about, the mindfulness and grit and self-compassion and all those pieces over 7 sessions with a lovely group of people. So you can check that out in the fall. You can find all of our sessions at various times on grifflife.ca, which if you're not familiar is kind of like our events and involvement hub for the University of Guelph. And we also have a program called You Shine. So if there are specific goals that you want to work on for your own well-being, you get to meet with a peer mentor one-to-one and can dig in with them throughout the semester. So that information is also on STARTonline.ca to get connected for the fall. Thanks so much, folks. Thank you for listening to me chat about wellness, because I love it, and I hope that you have a great semester.
Thank you so much, Rebecca. I love it. Thank you so much, Rebecca, Victoria, and Alexa and Charlotte for sharing all of your thoughts with everyone today. I just wanted to thank you so much for coming out to Start on Campus, the University Mindset, and invite you to the really great pairing for this session, which is next week, which is Start on Campus, the University Classroom, where you'll hear from a prof, the library. It's really about getting ready for your actual classroom at university. So I'm really excited for that session as well. We're going to hang back here for a few minutes just to make sure that all of the questions did get answered. So if you have anything last minute in your mind that you didn't get a chance to put in the chat, now is your chance. And if you think of something 5 minutes from now after the event has ended, that's completely okay. You can email us at start@uguelph.ca. So thank you so much for joining us, and I hope you have a wonderful rest of your day. Cheers. All right, and it looks like we've managed to answer everyone's questions, so we'll wrap up there. And if there's anything else that you think of, don't hesitate to email us at start@uguelph.ca. Enjoy the rest of your day. Bye.